I've been given the honor here this afternoon of presenting the Orville Yanke Award, and I'll talk a little bit about the award for a few seconds here, and then we'll talk about the recipient. And just to introduce myself, my name is Rob Dunn, and I work with Alberta Agriculture in Lethbridge. Still have a government job. So before his passing in 2007, Orville Yanke and his wife Judy farmed in the Dunmore area, which is just south of Medicine Hat. And Orville really set an example for others, and through his passion for life and for land stewardship. I had the pleasure of knowing and working with Orville over about a 15-year period, and he was one of the first to adopt conservation tillage and eventually no-till in that area where he farmed, and he loved to share his experience with others. And he was really one of the farmers that spearheaded and really was co-founder for the Southern Alberta Conservation Association, which, you know, if you remember the organization SACA, that group eventually merged with the Southern Applied Research Association, or SARA, to form Farming Smarter, who's obviously that's the conference we're at here today. So he was also the principal motivation for Southern Alberta's first direct seeding conference at Medicine Hat. And does anyone remember what year the first direct seeding conference was in Medicine Hat? I'm thinking it was 95, but then again it might have been 93. I can't remember. Yeah, but it was 95 or 93, and we may have held it in Lethbridge in 95, but I can remember Orville and I talking about that afterwards and saying, you know, he said to me, Rob, I don't think we'll ever be able to pull this off again. And this was really the foundation of this conference, which has really been such a success over the years, and now is an annual conference. But it had its roots in that first direct seeding conference. So the Orville Yanke Award was established in 2009 by the Southern Alberta Conservation Association, inherited now by Farming Smarter, to honor those individuals whose leadership have made such a significant contribution to soil conservation in the Southern Alberta area. And today we have a most worthy recipient in Dr. Ross Mckenzie. Ross, I was able to find a few, one of the things that I was good at some of our crop walks and tours was taking pictures, and so over the last 10 years I was able to scrounge up a few pictures, but Ross is definitely a man who's outstanding in his field. And Ross has been the face of Alberta agriculture really in the soils and agronomy research area, and to a big extent in our crop extension area over most of the past 3 decades, and not only in Southern Alberta but really across the province. And his advice really continues to be sought by farmers even post-retirement. I know he gets a lot of calls from friends and colleagues and farmers, but at times his advice was disdained by some of the industry agronomists and especially those trying to sell some of the wonder products in Southern Alberta area. But overall, Ross was one of those guys that was brave enough to say some of the things that the rest of us were often thinking, and that did often get him in trouble. And so we did have that lawyer on standby from time to time. Autumn actually described Ross's formal education, but bachelor's and at the University of Alberta and master's degree from the University of Saskatchewan in soil fertility and chemistry, and he had a tremendous foundation of knowledge that we all appreciated, and often, for most of us, we need to hear it 6 or 7 times, and some of us 10 or 12 times, but Ross just kept bringing things back to basics in terms of soil fertility and soils, and just to hear that again today, Ross, we sure appreciated your presentation. He obviously was really the lead in terms of Alberta agriculture for the agronomic research program, over this past 30 years as well. And if you look at a quick search on Alberta Agriculture's website that I did yesterday, Ross, I got 124 hits, for your name, And that included more than 34 fact sheets. And those are just the ones that I was able to find on our current rope in the web. I'm sure there's a lot more that you either authored or co-authored over the years. Extremely productive and committed to getting, information and extension of that information out to farmers and industry agronomists. And the bad news is I only got 30 hits for Rob Dunn, but that's okay. I've still got a little bit of time to catch up here. By the way, Ross, if you Google Ross Mckenzie, Alberta Agriculture, you get 5.5 million hits. And some of those were hate mail, but most were good. Now, in addition to kind of the practical side, of fact sheets and the crop walks and different things where you've seen Ross over the years, he's also co-authored somewhere around 30 published papers that I was able to track down in peer-reviewed scientific journals. So Ross not only was doing sort of the practical side, but he was also ensuring that was peer-reviewed, published in scientific journals, and I think well over 100 conference papers over the year, and a lot of those, at events that were organized by Farming Smarter and formerly by SACA. He was a regular speaker at these events and a strong supporter of this organization. So in addition to Ross's research program, he also played a catalyst role in organizing events like the Southern Alberta Diagnostic Field School, which has evolved into the terrific event that Farming Smarter now hosts on an annual basis in late June and early July. And he was also involved in events and continues to be involved. We had a planning meeting the other day for the irrigation update, and he's been really the catalyst and leader behind having agronomy update here on a biannual basis and irrigation update in alternate years. But also numerous tours, and Ross pretty much invented, along with Don Wentz, I guess, the whole idea of a crop walk, which is now very popular and continues to be an opportunity to get out and have a look at the crops during the month of May and June. Autumn also mentioned the fact that she was one of his students, and he's been very active in working in the colleges and the university as an adjunct professor at the U of L for over 10 years, and shaping young minds. Some of us go back to school, and so we need our minds reshaped from time to time too. So just a few more slides I wanted to show. Always an emphasis on soils at any of our crop walks here, Ross and Don Wentz, and basically always trying to link what we're seeing above ground with what's below ground. A lot of interest on the part of farmers and agronomists over the years. This is one of the times when I was helping Ross with one of the college tours, so just again out looking at those soils that he talked about in terms of the different soil types in southern Alberta. Ross always did a lot of actual field work too, and so he was very, very busy during the spring. Here we're out putting in greenhouse gas chambers in one of our, looking at the influence of fertilizer methods on greenhouse gases. And you see the rubber melt in Ross's hand, and so we just lightly tapped that into the ground, and so had to throw that one in. But Ross, if you want to come up, through all your efforts, Ross, you've made a significant contribution, and through the research, extension, and education to soil conservation and sustainability. And on behalf of Farming Smarter, I'm very pleased to present you with the Orville Yanke Award. So come on up.
Thanks. I suppose you want me to say something wise and intelligent now, and that's not going to happen, but actually I just found myself a new pair of glasses. We'll see about that. Anyway, to be honest, to receive this is a kind of a real treat at the end of my career. I actually had the privilege of meeting Orville in the fall of 1983. That's so I can remember a long time ago when I did things. That's the good news. And we actually put winter wheat plots out at Orville's place. Then that's when winter wheat wasn't very popular, and we wanted to get winter wheat out in a number of different agroecological areas. And Orville was an interesting fellow and had unique land. He had land kind of south of Medicine Hat, which was lower pH and unique. And I wasn't going to tell this story, but when we were actually putting those plots in, I was working on the back of the bander, and the technician who was driving a tractor, it was just he and I back in those days. And we were fertilizing the plots, and Stan Deranuski, you would remember old Stan Deranuski was a DA, and I always kind of make sure Alberta agriculture staff knew what we were doing. We were working in their territories. And he came out to watch us, and Stan always liked to be the man, and Blair Ross is nodding his head, yeah, that was Stan. Stan was a great guy. But he hopped up on the side of the bander at the back, and when my technician and I were banding fertilizer, we were going like hell, and I would have to scoop fertilizer 10 times and go through a plot, scoop 10 scoops of 10 scoops of fertilizer and go through another plot 10 meters, and then we would just fly like hell. And as soon as we got to the end of the plot, he'd hit the brake, just the one brake, the tractor would spin around 180 degrees, and we were back going the next way. And Stan didn't realize that. He was sitting on the back of the tractor, and as we got to the end, we did a 180, and he must have rolled about 20 feet off that tractor on the ground. And Orville was there, and Orville just about cracked up. It was the funniest thing he'd ever seen, but Orville was a great guy, and to receive something like this is a real treat. And I guess just a comment that I would make, it was really what made the difference were all the people that I had the opportunity to work with. That's really what, I wasn't successful. Collectively, the group of people that I worked with, that's really where the success was. And so when I look at all of the innovative farmers, and I look across the room, there's probably 20 or more people in this room where I had research plots. And one of them was Terry Dorner I was sitting with, and I think when I started working with him, I even had brown hair, and that was a hell of a long time ago. But there was many farmers who were very, very patient with us. We would rather have wrecks on an acre of land in small plots than on large farms. But that was the first thing that made the difference. We were innovative farmers we had the opportunity to work with. The second were the technical staff that I worked with. Alan Middleton, I worked with for many, many years. He was a senior technician. He's not here today, but he was second to none. He worked very, very hard. And you talk about lazy government guys, well, not the guys I worked with. If we had to be out spraying at 5 o'clock in the morning, no problem. And there would be lots of times on a Saturday night we'd be rolling into the warehouse at midnight after combining, and those guys didn't mind. And even when I look around the room, there's a couple of people in this room. Denise, I'm not sure she's still here, and Dean Hubbard, Denise worked with me back in the 80s. Dean was late 80s and early 90s. But it was really collectively all of the staff that I worked with over the years. They were just absolutely second to none. And third was really the colleagues that I had the opportunity to work with. People like Rob Dunn, Blair Roth, Don Wentz. There was numerous people within government and outside government that I had the opportunity to work with. And it was really collectively all of those people that made all of the difference. So to be honest, I might sound like at times I'm a bit negative on Alberta culture, but really it was a hell of a good career. And I really, really enjoyed the people I worked with and what I did. And if the truth were known, I planned to work for the government for 5 years when I started in 1975. I planned to be farming by the time by 1980. And that didn't quite work out, so I wound up being a government guy instead. Anyway, that's the end of that, but thank you very much to Farming Smarter for the Orville Yankee Award. Thanks.